it is basically an inter-club event with multiple clubs involved and members. So if you've got a free weekend, get involved. There's some flyers on the table there about it, which has got the details on the website, which has got extra information. So that's March 14 and 15 out at Drouin West. The theme for that is going to be a little like tonight in some ways. It's going to be on interference, but we're going to have a series of specific guest speakers talking about different topics of interference, breaking it up, and doing the things out in the open that you can't quite do in a hall when it comes to tracking things down and noise and these sorts of things. So it'll be an interesting occasion from that perspective. Hopefully the weather is going to be with us in March. But moving right along, the Radio Amateur Society of Australia, RASA, we've been operating for about 2 years now, and it was formed by 5 amateurs who wanted to do more for the hobby, and there was a lot of opportunity, a lot of scope for advancing what we're doing. And we're an incorporated, registered, I'll try again. We're a nationally incorporated organisation, so while we're an association, we have a presence in each state. So we are a national body. The ACMA and the AMC, the Maritime College, recognises us in that role as well, which is very good.
As well as the WIA?
Well, sometimes, on a nice day. The organisation is very much on the internet. That is, our members are contacted through email. We get questions through email. Our information is dispersed via our website, and that's how we're operating. It allows us to operate fairly at a low cost, and means that we're also very, very portable in that respect. So I'm not going to dwell too much on what we had covered in the past, but we do want to talk about the priorities for this coming year. And Chris, do you want to say something there?
And look, we're quite happy to take any questions or discussion points as we go. So please, if you've got any questions or comments, yell out, put your hand up. We're happy to talk about things as we go. One of the things when we sort of sat down 18 odd months ago and sort of said what is it we wanted to do as an association and where did we think the priorities should lie, everything except the bottom item on that list was a priority last year, and we sort of really just want to keep our eye on the ball and try to be focused on doing what we say we're going to do, and then continuing to refine those activities. As Ian mentioned, we've got a bulletin that goes out to all our members about every fortnight, and about 125 radio clubs across VK. Glenn, VK4DU, our president, also has a very strong professional history dealing with regulators and also working in the RF industry. So he's been really, really good putting together some education and awareness articles on regulation, the ACMA, and how we sit in the overall spectrum as one sector that ACMA needs to look after. One of the other things, as we said last year when we were here, I think most of us at one time or another have suffered RFI, QRM in our shack at home, or whether we're out in the car or we're out portable. And of course, those of you that get the joy of operating portable, you see how low the noise floor is when you get out into the country or operate off a battery. So one of the things we wanted to do was investigate what we could do as a group of amateurs to try to address this noise issue, because clearly it's not something that we can just sit back and phone the ACMA and say, come and fix it. And the bulk of the presentation tonight really is giving an update of what's gone on since we were here last year. The other couple of items there have been on the table for quite some years. I think access to 60 metres came out of WRC 15, and about 210 countries have got access to 60 metres now. We're still sort of dragging our heels on that one. And the other one, of course, is 1 kilowatt for advanced. I won't go into any of the details of either of those now, but if you go to our website, the proposals that we've put to ACMA are up on our website, and you're welcome to read them and have a look at them. We're fortunate in that Glenn has done a lot of work designing HF networks and working with jurisdictions implementing HF broadcasting stations. So he was able to put together a very pragmatic approach to implementing a transition of 60 metres for VK operators. Now we just need to try and work cooperatively across the sector and get that over the line with ACMA. On the high power, we're fortunate that Andrew Smith, a retired surgeon, went out and did a worldwide study of what's been going on with RFI studies and impacts to humans of high power HF, which really has resulted in the summary that, you know, none of us have got two heads. We're not frying the neighbour's cat. Most other similar jurisdictions have high power on HF, and in fact you can go and get a high power permit for 6 metres and VHF and UHF, which are probably far more risky to human welfare. Certainly I know Grant, VK5GR, was very aware when he was doing his high power on 6 metres that for those of us that are about 1.5 metres high, you don't want to be standing in front of a high powered array on 6 metres. So, you know, that was a very serious consideration for Grant when they were running their EME activities on 6 metres. Another one that came out of last year was 2x1 contest call signs. Those of you that get active in contests are probably aware that many other jurisdictions around the world have 2x1 call signs. They're very popular with contesters, enabling a faster QSO rate and a somewhat more simple call sign. So, you know, VK3 Alpha. A committee was pulled together last year, made up predominantly of contesters, and that committee went through all of the ins and outs of how such a proposal would be put together and the application criteria to ensure we achieved a balance between supply and demand. That proposal was tied up sort of around the middle of last year, was put to ACMA in third quarter, and approved by them in fourth quarter. So we're just waiting now for the Maritime College to finalise their procedures, and then individuals and clubs will be able to apply for 2x1 contest call signs. So that'll be good progress for those contesters that are interested in 2x1s. Access to digital modes for foundation licensees, well that's happened now. We've all seen that come to pass, and a lot of FLs are enjoying the additional modes, which is fantastic, but of course we've still got the outstanding issue of the 3 or 4 letter call sign issue that needs to be resolved. Some of you will have seen various correspondence floating around on the internet on that one. And something that's new for us this year, and this is really once again where we're looking for feedback from everyone. Send us emails, let us know what your thoughts and ideas. How do we provide better support as a group of clubs, as associations and as individuals for the newcomers to the hobby, making it more welcoming, helping people get involved in the hobby. Certainly in my 30 odd years as a radio emitter, it's gone from being sort of that wide and that deep as a hobby to now it's that wide and for most of us about that deep. And it's probably a little bit of a quagmire to try to understand coming into the hobby. Where do I start? Where do I go? How do I find my way through amateur radio? So we've kicked off an initiative this year looking at how we can work better with the newcomers coming into our hobby.
It's a twofold issue. I'll just mention now that it's not just a matter of bringing people in the hobby, whether they're students or professionals who are interested in amateur radio and just want to get involved, but once they enter the hobby,
keeping them active.
There's a little bit of support needed to keep them interested and link them up with people of the same with the same interests within the organisation, within the hobby. So it's getting people into the hobby and then supporting them a little when they get there. So it's going to be a two-pronged approach, and you're going to be hearing a lot more about it in the course of the year.
All right, so that's just a little bit of what we've been doing. The bulk of our work last year was on QRM Guru, as Ian mentioned at the start. So we'll just run through some of that stuff. Radio frequency interference, QRM,